Hello, everyone. Um, Welcome to the second day of the second Excellence Seminar in 2022. I'm sorry for the siren that just passed, but that's one thing. So welcome again. And this event is supported by Nova BIM, one of the supporters of our community, BIM Excellence, which is a BIMe Initiative. So I'm your host today, and it's my pleasure to invite you to listen to this seminar. My name is Argawan. I'm a doctoral researcher in BIM in University of Luxembourg. And as the usual custom of this seminar, I welcome you in my mother tongue. So, درود بر شما و درود بر آزادی and moyen fie Litzebuyesh, where I live. Yesterday, if you didn't have the opportunity to watch our seminar, you can hear my summary of it, or you can listen and watch the video from 15th of December onwards. So that too was also streamed on YouTube, and it was hosted by my colleague, Professor Regina Rocho. And the first session was about digital transformations in 6 parts of the world. So going from Chile by Carolina and talking about the standardization there, to US, to Quebec, BIM Quebec, and later to other parts of the world, including Thailand. Then we had the second session with Professor Mohamed Kassem, with Danny and with Eduardo about macro adoption and different progress that they have made over the years in their research together with Christine. Later, we saw how Nova BIM, the platform, works and how cost is important when it's attached to different parts of an object in their platform. And thanks to them, we have our community has been always supported. So we had this pleasure to talk with Felix yesterday and show how their platform works. And also Marie-Grieve hosted that session, which is another supporter of our community. So now we're going to talk about the session 4, which was a very interesting session about different model use templates by first Amazonian, so 2020, and also 2030 projects by Mohamed Mayouf, Maya, Angelina, and their team. We also had some interesting discussions that I invite you to watch them later, where our community had the opportunity to ask some questions. So now that you're watching this in YouTube, please do not hesitate to ask your questions in the chat box, and please tell us from where you're watching our seminar today. So again, a big welcome to today's seminar. We have 5 sessions. We start with the big community of BIM Dictionary. We will see different teams talking about their progress. And this session it will be hosted by Dr. Marzia Bolpani from MACE and also Oriela from Fraunhofer, Germany. And then it will be session 6, which Dr. Bilal Sukar, which is the father of our community, will discuss the new BIM Dictionary platform and the new improvements that have been made and the new semantics. We will go on a short break in that time. And after that, we will start with Marie-Grieve talking about her support of our initiative in this excellent seminar. And later in session 8, Mr. Dimitri Daniel, he will talk about Vulgarisation App and how we can use or how, let's say, people can use better ISO 19650. And I'm absolutely not going to spoil this anymore, but it is an interesting thing to learn. And in session 9, Dr. Eric Pourrier, he will talk about digital transformation and the gaps, and also some calls for actions and future plans. And in the end, we will have the opportunity again to answer your questions or curiosities. And if you are interested to join any of the initiatives, you're more than welcome to write in the chat or reach to us. So you have three QR codes on the screen. You can use them for first contacting us throughout the session. And also, as I said, you can use the second QR code to watch the seminar again on your own pace on December 15th. Then you will be able to see the recordings in the BIM EI or BIM Excellence Initiative channel. So do not forget to check our website and subscribe to our community to get the news frequently. You can see the address of our website on the right-hand side of the screen. Never underestimate the power of social media. So please share your thoughts on your favorite social media by using the hashtag excellence seminar. This is our second seminar, so we were using the same hashtag previous time in 2020. If you're interested, you can also follow the hashtag and learn what had been done in that time. So I'm a bit ahead of the schedule, but let's go on with it. So in session 5, we will have a BIM Dictionary community. In this session, the BIM Dictionary team or Project A, they will introduce different community members with different roles, including editors, co-editors, and reviewers, and they will share how and why they contributed to this knowledge sharing effort, and also they will explain more about their role and the challenges of their specific language and how they overcame these challenges for the languages when they were translating or editing BIM terms and new words for their countrymates and those who speak that language. This session will be hosted by Dr. Marzieh Bolpani and also Mrs. Oriella Braoli. So Marzieh is the head of BIM International, and he is the associate director at MACE. She works on a digital construction at MACE, where she develops and implements digital construction solutions for international clients. Her PhD was in smart construction, and she's passionate about filling the gap between industry and academia. And she's assistant editor of the BIM Dictionary, ambassador of NEMA, and an expert at the European Committee of Standardization, or CEN, on TC 442 standards and International Standardization Organization, where she chairs a task group of information requirement standardization, level of information need, which you might also know it as LOAN unofficially. She is a lead author of the Level of Information Need Standard EN 17412 Part 1 and chair of the EC3 committee, EC3 Modeling and Standards Committee, an honorary lecturer at UCL, and a visiting professor at Northumbria University. And she is also the founder of Italian in Digital Transformation UK. And you can follow her in all of her endeavors in social media. She's quite active. And also we will have Oriella today. So she's an architect, a great BIM specialist, and a researcher at Fraunhofer Italia. And she's an architect, BIM specialist in the field of digitalization in construction. She's a scientific researcher at the moment at Fraunhofer Italia, where the team of in the team of process engineering in construction. She's passionate about integrating BIM methods with sustainable design and contribute to the industry through her work and applied research. She is our community coordinator at the BIM Dictionary since 2020, and together they will have the opportunity to introduce the other members who are going to present their work. So I'm not going to name them one by one, but it will be Marzieh and Oriella's job to introduce them to you. And with that, if you're ready, I will give the floor to Marzia and Oriella.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you, Argavan. So we will present about the BIM Dictionary. And I don't know how many of you already use the BIM Dictionary. And probably you are asking yourself, what is the BIM Dictionary? So in the next slide, you will see the keywords regarding what is this project about. The BIM Dictionary is really the foundation project of the BIM Excellence Initiative, one of the first projects that has been created. And the BIM Dictionary, first of all, is an international community effort. It's a research-based and reliable source where the plain language is used to improve understanding on the different terms and concepts related to building information modeling. It uses in hundred of interconnected terms. So when you click on the terms, you find which are the other terms that are connecting to that particular term that you selected. And this dictionary is always review and improve, taking into account the new development. There is also a presentation regarding our colleague Karen at the end regarding how to include ISO 19650 terms, for example. And that is also an open access platform that is freely available to all of us. In the next slide, you will see how many terms there are so far. At the moment, there are 800 entered terms regarding building information modeling. And those terms in the next slide, you can see that has been translated in 27 languages. That is great. So I really suggest you to have a look. If you type bimdictionary.com, you can really find all the languages that has been translated so far in the different titles, and hopefully this is also your language. If you cannot find it, please get in touch with us. So then maybe you can become the next editor. In the next slide, you will see how many volunteers are already involved. So more than 140 volunteers across the globe are actively involved in the BIM Dictionary community effort. And in the next slide, you can see how this project is structured. So there is the head editor, that is Bilal Sukar, and I'm currently the assistant editor. And Ori has been the community editor, and she has been doing a great job in the past 2 years in order to help, in order to manage all the different language, terms, editors, and co-editors and reviewers. And also we have topic curators, specific topics that we need more, interest. And for example, the one on the ISO 19650, but also we have terms regarding, for example, extended reality. So we have topic curators and also specialists. In the next slide, you will see where all these volunteers are currently working and living. So we are covering quite a good amount of countries, but not all. So if you feel that you see that your country is not represented, please get in touch. We really want to work with you and collaborate with you to make this community effort even bigger. So now I pass the word to Ori. Thank you very much. I think that you need to unmute.
Sorry. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that is perfect.
Okay. As Marcia said, I'm going to let you know how you can contact us and be a part of our BIM dictionary if you would like to contribute. You just have to go to our page, bimdictionary.com, and on the contact section, you will find all the necessary spaces to fill your information and to let us know who are you and your motivation to be an active contributor for the dictionary. At the moment, we have open positions. We are looking for volunteers in general, and but more specifically, we have open positions for the German team. So if there are any professionals from Germany attending this seminar, I would like to invite them to join our dictionary and give their contribution. But also for other languages, we are open, and everybody who thinks that can give a valuable contribution can contact immediately to us, to bimdictionary.com in the contact section. If you need more material available and want to know how more about, in detail about the BIM dictionary, you can go to the BIM Excellence page, and you will find in the resources section the 800 series, which is the BIM Dictionary Editor's Guide. And there you can find all the necessary information, what an editor's contribution would be for the BIM dictionary, and also other informations that how the project is going on. So next, I'm going to present our BIM dictionary editors. Today, we have 5 of our editors who are going to speak about their experience with their language teams, with the translations, and with the BIM dictionary. And also, we have one of the topic curators for the ISO terms. So we have Ms. Andriana from the Danish team, Mr. Damir from Croatia, Miss Giagi or Joy, I'm sorry if I did not pronounce the name correctly, from the Chinese team, Miss Stefanka from the Czech language team, Mr. Zuel from the Arabic language team, and Mr. Kerem is going to speak as a topic curator for the ISO terms. So now I want to leave the word to our first editor from the Danish team, Miss Andriana Nasteska.
Hello, everybody. I am just going to share. Yes, perfect. Thank you, Ori, and thank you for presenting. It's 1 p.m. here in Denmark, and it's quite windy outside. But here the temperature is simply rising the whole time because big office near us. We are working with many large-scale contractors and building projects, consulting projects, you name it. I am very proud to be a part of the Danish language team. And we as a team are very happy to be a part of the whole community of BIM Dictionary, which is growing constantly. It's our passion to be a part of it. I would like to present our team. It's a team of talented individuals, and they all represent a different sector. Starting with Maria Simone Sørensen. She represents Hoffman, and she's been a co-editor since 2021. She works as an ICT and BIM manager. Then we have Morten. He's one of our newest members. He just joined the team, and he is a very talented architectural technologist coming from AFRY, which is a consultancy here in Denmark. Then we have Melon. Melon works as a BIM manager for Aalborg University Hospital, one of the bigger clients here in Denmark. And she represents the client side. We got Tue Kapel. He actually just have joined our team, and we are very pleased that he decided to join us. Tue is extremely active within the BIM community in Denmark, and he has contributed quite largely towards adopting and implementing standards for ICT and BIM in Denmark. And he works for NCC. And there, of course, there's me. I have the role of as an editor for the Danish language team since 2021. And I would like to tell you about my journey. I started this journey in 2020 when I came across the BIMe Initiative, and it was through Andreas Volder, who was our previous editor. And if we just change the slide, Andreas was is guilty for forming the Danish language team, and he was a very good asset to our work. But he has a very great engagement within Delux where he works, and it came up to a scale when he temporarily decided to withdraw. And I think he's here now. So Andreas, I say temporary because I really hope that you will join us soon again. I will also like to say big thanks to our previous members, Axel and Jan, who have also contributed quite a lot to our translations. I would like to continue to talk about our progress. Our progress goes hand in hand with the teamwork, as you all know. We have published 220 terms, and we are working on this larger batch of 590 terms. Most of them are already translated, waiting for review. And we do this by combining our knowledge, by constant research for already published and adopted terms in Denmark. Because in Denmark, we have quite a strong standardization at the moment, quite strong community. So every time we come to a term and we think, okay, we've seen this somewhere, then we have to research and check if it has been published. So then we reuse it in the translations. Combining our knowledge and research is a very important, it's like a key factor for our progress. And doing this and making effort to implement the BIM dictionary within the BIM community in Denmark is also something that both keeps us motivated, but also makes us willing to contribute even more. We keep our roles flexible. We sometimes change the roles so that we can try the review part and the editing part of the dictionary and so on. In the end, I would just like to talk about the motivation. I think it's our greatest challenge. Thinking about the BIM dictionary and the starting of the whole process in 2020, I can feel that in the beginning, we had all this motivation. It was new, it was exciting, and now we are doing the real work. We have a lot of terms to translate, but we see it as our hobby. Motivation can vary, but the foundation is first of all being a part of this community, as I said, but also our common passion to do this. We enjoy it. To make the team stronger, we are planning to meet up. Funny enough, we work in different parts of Denmark. We have never seen each other physically. We work online, but we think that this upcoming come together will bring us closer together and motivate us even more. And in the end, our greatest goal is to bring BIM adoption for the BIM dictionary in Denmark, and we are working. We are working very passionately with it. Thank you very much.
And now I would like to invite Mr. Damir from the Croatian language team to share his experience with us as the editor of the Croatian language team.
Great. Hello everyone. Thank you, Oriola, Argovan, Marcia. Let me tell you about how it all started here in Croatia. As a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Architecture, University of Zagreb, I focus on the research and implementation of BIM in university curricula. On the faculty level, I see the BIM Dictionary as a valuable resource, and with BIM Dictionary, it all started in December 2016. After seeing an open call from Bilal on LinkedIn, I contacted him, and soon it got rolling. I started with translations, and then I joined as a reviewer in January 2017. Soon, Hrvoje and young colleagues Marin and Carlo joined us, and we published the first set of terms at the end of the March 2017. In May 2020, Monica became a valuable member of our team, and with her effort, the document BIM maturity metrics were translated and is now waiting for revision. Additionally, in September 2021, we enlarged the team with colleagues from University of Zagreb and Osijek, Faculty of Civil Engineering, with Mladen and Sonja became reviewers, and Dina and Zlata as co-editors. And last, in May 2022, Maya and Ada joined the team as co-editors. We all see the BIM Dictionary as a basis for clear communication between stakeholders. With being translated into 27 languages makes it a valuable asset in global adoption. And based on that, the Memorandum of Understanding was signed with Building Smart Croatia in May 2022 to use the BIM Dictionary database as a common knowledge database through the Building Smart Croatia platform. Professionals from industry and academia formed the team, all with significant experience in BIM, as we can see in team affiliations on the slide. We don't like to talk about problems, so we'll talk about the complexities we are dealing with. First of all, there is a large, BIM Dictionary presents large database of terms, with some terms already being translated in Croatian with multiple versions of translations that have not been peer-reviewed and mutually agreed upon. We find them on commercial sites and in some research papers. Also, there is no coherence between translations of basic terms in documents of official institutions. And then there are significant differences between English and Croatian languages in grammar and semantics. Until now, we had lots of issues with the complexity of interconnections of terms, which slows down the process. And last, Croatia is a small community with a small number of experts in BIM that could or would invest their time in volunteering work on such a project. So how to deal with the complexities and how can we spot the right person for the team? Enthusiasm and passion are crucial for this project, and regarding the professional and academic roles of the team members, micro-volunteering is the only option to keep the members on board. Setting strict deadlines didn't give results, and initial passion and enthusiasm would weaken. Some of us joined work groups in various institutions and associations with the mission to align the translations and term definitions between them, like Croatian Standards Institute, Croatian Chamber of Architects, Chamber of Civil Engineers, Building Smart Croatia, EU BIM Task Group, and Center for Digital Build Croatia, and most of us work as teachers and professors at some of Croatia's top universities. Following the earthquakes that hit Croatia in 2020, the authorities put BIM adoption aside, and during the following year, with our initiative, we hope to see a positive change from public stakeholders regarding support for BIM adoption and digital transformation. Now at the moment we are dealing with 215 terms translated in Croatian, waiting for reviewer confirmation, and the team is working on translations for the rest of the terms. With the new platform, we see the process as more intuitive and could increase team productivity. Consequently, we expect progress regarding the translations of BIM Dictionary terms with the valuable team of experts we managed to assemble. We have learned our lessons so far, and we hope to overcome mentioned obstacles and achieve our goal to complete the translations through 2023. Thank you, Oriola.
Thank you, Damir. Now I would like to invite our next editor from the Chinese language team, Ms. Joy.
Yeah, I would like to. Hello, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I can share screen if you don't mind. Yes. Can you? Oh, sorry. Can you see the screen? Sorry. Okay. So thank you very much, Ori and Mazia. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting our Chinese team to share the progress and some of the thoughts. So first, I would like to introduce our translation team. So first is Dr. Qiuchen Lü. She is the associate professor in UCL, the Bartlett School of Sustainable Construction, and Dr. Long Chen. He is the lecturer from Loughborough University School of Architecture, Building, and Civil Engineering, and Dr. Zhou. He is a research fellow in Imperial College London, the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. And I am Joy, currently a PhD candidate working with Dr. Liu in UCL as well. So our Chinese translation team is not only strongly supported from an academic perspective. As you can see, we are a joint of 3 very strong engineering universities. But also all of us have a very strong practical experiences on BIM, digital twin, or other related automation and digitalization projects in mainland China, Hong Kong, UK, or the US. So the mixed backgrounds of the team really facilitates the translation progress. So here is the progress. Currently, we have published 932 terms in total, and there are 101 terms under translation or reviews. Hopefully, we can complete this round of translation work by the end of this year. And despite some of the progress, I would like to share some experiences behind the scene. First, so it is very beneficial to understand the term both in the industry and and in the academic environment, so that the translation won't be too awkward to say or to use in practical projects in real world, or too oral to use in formal or academic research studies. And then the published translation team has gone through and very iteration process. So basically, we have gone through all the translation process of several rounds of edits, reviews, discussions, and revisions before we actually submit it for review to the BIM Dictionary. And this would make sure that the translation is more consistent and ready to use. So we also sent some of the term with translation concerns to BIM experts in China on the project to get advice. So the whole process might be really long, but we must be very patient to guarantee the translation quality. So for like around thousands of terms translation, we spent almost over a year of efforts for all of us. Yeah. So also, I would like to share some of the significance or some positive feedbacks that we have received from our readers. So based on the feedback, it is a great reference for academic and practical BIM community, as it erases the information loss brought by language differences, and it could bring people with diverse backgrounds to the same page. And then it is a great material for people to actually learn BIM quickly. For example, if students ask me like how to learn BIM, so I will just suggest them to look BIM Dictionary and Scheme and Scan, so they can be like afterwards they can be well trained. So, or for people already in the industry but only focusing on certain part of BIM, say for example with a certain stage, they can also learn these concepts in other stages when their BIM role changes. For example, from like BIM from construction side to design side or project manager side. And right now, the BIM applications in China is going through changes from design and construction BIM to BIM-based operation and maintenance. And even in recent years, the concept of digital twin is blooming. So BIM Dictionary would be a foundation for practitioners and researchers to conduct implementations consistently and learn the experiences globally. So, and in the near future, we hope to promote the application of BIM Dictionary in Chinese BIM communities to make it very popular or attract more people to cite and use in their projects. And finally, our team would like to keep updating the dictionary, both the translation or any forms of functions updates, so it can really be dynamic. And thank you very much. Please contact me if you have any questions, or probably we can meet up in the UK or in China. So just contact me in the forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joey. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Stepanka Tomanova from the Czech language team.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Good morning, good afternoon or evening. It depends where you are. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce our lessons learned from using and connecting BIM Dictionary to our journey of implementing BIM in Czech Republic. As you see on the history line, we are promoting BIM to Czech Republic from 2011. And we started as a Czech BIM Council, and we have found that not only bottom-up strategy would work. So we tried to introduce BIM as well to our authorities, and because of quite good context, we choose Ministry of Industry and Trade in 2014. So we have recognized that the need of common terminology is really needed because we wanted to agree what we are talking about. And so we started to search what we can use, and we have found the BIM Dictionary. We established our team of volunteers, and members were first from academic as well commercial sphere. And we started with translation of first set of BIM Dictionary terms in 2017. But it took almost 1 year to translate 700 of terms. And we as well used this set of terms in our local tool because it was connected to the standardization agency. And it was really good connection, I think, because we were able to introduce the set of translated terms as well to many people who were interested in technical standardization. So when we have got the first source of our BIM terminology, we used it in our BIM implementation strategy. And the result of this strategy was to establish the special department in the Czech Agency of Standardization. And the goal of this agency was to implement the BIM and to prepare the advice and methodology of chosen different topics. But in the same time, The first ISO and CEN technical standards were published, and we have found that BIM Dictionary needs harmonization with these documents. But fortunately, not only our members found this, and the update of the BIM Dictionary has been done in general. And our big task for today is to update our older translations and as well to add the new set of terms which were developed during last 1 or 2 years. I should say that COVID time had better influence to our team because we were divided and many members changed their work and their focus. So today we are in the stage that we need to involve new members and extend our team with more professionals. And to connect others is the main reason why we are in the same trying to connect as well other sources. And this is what you see on the picture, that we have several sources of terminology. One is mainly focused on the building acts. The second was mainly for the GIS system, and then already mentioned terminology from technical standards as well on the international level. But if I should summarize the lessons learned from last 5 years living with the BIM Dictionary, I would divide them to 5 main points. That first is better to involve volunteers, enthusiastic people who want to help with changing and developing the construction industry. The second is that we need to involve the different kind of members, academic, commercial sphere, different professionals, because in BIM you are connecting almost everything with everything. So then you can better to solve differences and to solve the terminology for the new topics. The third is that work is continuous. You cannot use BIM dictionaries only as a project from one day to another, because development of the BIM is quite fast and you need to connect more and more things and agree to terminology. The thought is that each market is different, and especially when you want to use the up-bottom approach, it means from the governments to the commercial sphere, you need to have consensus with the policymakers, and you need to agree what you are talking about. And the fifth is that the combination of these two approaches, it means from bottom up, from the commercial sphere to the government, and on the opposite way, is useful for the implementation itself. But you need to use the common language, because in BIM you are connecting the construction industry with IT, and it sometimes use completely different things and meaning of the same words. And then you need to have a common language. And again, this is the topic for BIM Dictionary, and this is the main reason why we are with BIM Dictionary, and we are trying to improve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefanka. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Zuhair from the Arabic language team to share his experience with us.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Hello? Do you hear me, Oriella?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, good. Just to check. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, wherever you are. And thank you for the BIM Initiative and BIM team to invite me for this event today. My name is Zuhair Nassar. I'm the Arabic language team editor. I'll be very quick because I know that we have very limited time for the next session. So previously, the editor was Omar Salim since the first day of our team started on January 2017. Then on 21st, I became the co-editor for, the editor for this team, and Omar Salim became a co-editor for our team as well. So I'll give you a quick introduction about our team. I'm the editor, as I've mentioned. I'm from Iraq. I'm assistant professor in digital architecture at University of Kufa in Iraq. The co-editors, Omar Salim from Egypt, the founder of BIM Arabia. Most of Arab people who are interested in BIM and technology, they must know Omar Salim. Ahmed Lutfi from Syria, Bilal Jardi from Algeria, Dr. Manal Al-Adwani from Kuwait, and Dr. Hiam Umair from Egypt as well, Dr. Jamal Daylami from Algeria, Taima Hassan Khaddour from Syria, she is doing master, and our reviewer is Dr. Siham Barakat. She's original from Lebanon, but she's in Australia. So basically, maybe a few of you know that the Arabic language is ranked as the third most speaking language in the world. Maybe more than 450 million people speak Arabic as a native or second language. Around 300 million people who lives in Arabic country, it's the first language for them, and it's very hard. Maybe it's considered the one of the hardest language to be learned for the foreigner. So this is a big issue for us. As you know, maybe Chinese team has the same issue because it's very big number to deal with the language with them, because we have many dialects, we have many accents to deal with, and it's very huge. We have different countries. We are not living in one country. We have 22 Arabic countries. So this is one of the major issues that we have. Another big issue that, as I've mentioned, the Arabic language is very, very difficult. Maybe you know that the Arabic language is written from right to left, but the big issue is the Arabic language has diacritics, as we don't have the vowels. We have the vowels, but we don't use it too much. We rely on these diacritics, and there is no distinction between the lower and the upper cases. And one of the other issues the main issues, the females and males, we don't have the differentiate between them in our language. So we have this differentiate between the females and males in our language in sentences, structure, words, verb, and pronouns. And even when we use you and they in the singular, plural, and male and female form. So we have very big issue. And I'll give you a very quick example. In this term, it's two words, أدرس الهندسة. We can have 5 different translation or have different interpretation for this one. So I teach engineering, I am teaching engineering, I study engineering, or I am studying engineering, and also maybe it's imperative sentence, study engineering. So we should be very specific when we use our language, because same word, same sentence, we have 5 different forms. Another example about this, the diacritics. So in the first word, muhandis, which means engineer, that we have, if you can see that we have 5 letters, sorry, but we have this U, A, and I. We have this diacritics for them. So we should be very specific. So for example, again, the letter A represents the most used letter in our language, which is Alif in our language. It comes in different forms, specifically in the first, as a first letter in many words, and it can pronounce in different way, O, A, E, A, all these different, let's say, pronunciation for the same word. So each time it gives different meaning, different translation, so that we were having problem during the translation. So basically, when the first day I started as the editor for this team, we had this 607 terms. At that time, 2 years ago, we had only we were 90% of the as a progress for that time. Now we are 75. We still keep working on the same translated terms. We try to make sure that we are all understand these words. We give the good translation and make sure the accurate translation. And the other issue that, as I've mentioned, we are from different countries and we have different dialects. So we try to have different co-editors from different countries. As you can see that you can say that we have a good coverage of the Middle East part or the eastern part of Arab countries, but we still have let's say few people from Western country. We have only 2 people or 2 co-editors from Algeria. So we are open for volunteers to be co-editors from the western part of Arab countries, and of course we still welcoming for the people from the eastern part of the Arab country. So as I've mentioned, that we try to cover the most Arab country to make sure that we are delivering a good translation or a good understanding about the terms. Also, we try to make sure that our co-editors have a good background from academia and industry and practice. So we try to have the people that work in both academia and practice, or at least they have a good experience in one of them, to make sure that our translation is more accurate and understandable for both sectors, not only for academia or for industry only. So this is our main, let's say, focus during the last, let's say, the last year. And the main lesson learned in our, let's say, team, despite that we learned a lot of lessons, and my colleagues from different teams, they mentioned a lot of good things. But the main thing that I want to emphasize in my talk today is that we are not translating. We are not doing only translating the terms. We try to transfer the knowledge. This is the most important thing that we focus during our work. We sometimes try to interpretate the terms or the description, not only translating it from English to Arabic, because as I've mentioned, we have different kind of, let's say, forms, but we try to focus on how people understand it carefully and accurately. Thank you so much. I hope that I didn't take too many minutes from today from you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Zuhair. And last but not least, I would like to invite now Mr. Kerem, our topic curator from the ISO terms.
Greetings to everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Is my screen proper now? Dear Orhola, is my screen proper now, or it's kind of...
We can hear you very well.
And is my screen proper now? Because I see...
Hi, Kerem. Can you please click on the tab that shows the slides and continue from there?
Just a minute, please.
Yes, share the screen here.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
No, just a minute, please. Okay, sorry for that. Hello again. Greetings to everyone. I think I have limited time and I need to do it quickly. Like 3 years ago, when the ISO 19650 series started to publish, I really wondered what to do with the ISO and tried to examine deeply. And when during these examinations and researches, I met with dear Dr. Bilal, and when we met, and he invited me to the ISO Terms micro project. And during all those efforts, it was a great pleasure to meet with dear Dr. Bilal and Dimitri and discuss about the terms one by one. And especially for some terms, it had lasted 3 weeks to finish the term. So it was a very productive process when we come to this stage. The ISO Standards Micro Project is one of the under canonical terms project of BIM Dictionary. And all these efforts by dear Dr. Bilal Sukar, dear Dimitri, Daniel, and me, myself. And our target was to align the BIM dictionary terms, the English terms, and the descriptions with relevant international standards, terms, and their definitions. And our aim was, because of this, to this alignment, is to minimize any divergence between terms used by within BIM Initiative projects and those defined within published standards. Why to do this? As many terms within ISO standards have now become commonly used, it is important to include them in the BIM dictionary. Many of the people are asking when we will update, and we started this project. And making them available as is will not add significant value to the terms, and you can also find in the online browsing platform of ISO. So our intention of alignment is to assist practitioners to quickly locate relevant ISO terms through an intuitive search engine, add context to terms through descriptions, explanations, and examples, allow linking to these explanations, adding personal notes, and creating personal term lists, connect these terms to other terms from outside the standards throughout contextual links, and, where possible, diagrams and interactive charts. And these interactive charts and diagrams will be the next project. Maybe we are now trying to finish the first stage of the terms. Our challenges were the copyrighted status of ISO documents, which limits the adaptation efforts to what can be considered as fair use of adapted materials, such as the UK BIM framework and others. The conflicts of many ISO standards caused by high-level abstractions, need for the specialist's interpretation, deployment of quasi-contractual languages such as shall, should, and term duplication, but with varying definitions throughout the time. For example, from one ISO standard is from 2012. The term is old. Regarding a new standard from a relative standard from 2020. The use of terminology that conflate information management, project management, and procurement models, such as appointing party and appointed parties. These and other challenges are navigated by the project team to deliver a more accessible, cohesive, and simplified exploration of common terms derived from international standards. As I said, we had discussed like 3 weeks on one sentence. Also, I learned lots of things from dear Bilal and Dimitri during these studies. Which to align first? We decided to align first the ISO 19650 suite of documents, because there are lots of documents, lots of standards ongoing and publishing day by day. For example, the new one is the level of information needs, which is very important also. So we started first the ISO 19650 suite of documents. The included terms, in the beginning, we targeted to include the terms in the section 3, terms and definitions of the ISO documents. There are, however, terms not defined in section 3 but still variant, such as lead appointed party and function, which is also an information management function. Inclusion, if a term is not yet in the dictionary, we will include, or alignment, if the term is already in the dictionary, but we need to align. Extending the effort to include these terms is intended to improve overall comprehension of standards texts and make them more accessible to non-specialists, such as the clients, for example. Inclusion and alignment synthetical rules are, we decided after lots of discussions with the community also, alignment of terms will be expressed as follows. The ISO definition will be listed first. The ISO definition will be shown within parentheses. The ISO definition will be followed by document number and item number for easy reference. Extension of ISO definitions will be conducted where needed as follows. The ISO definition may include inline links to other terms provided pop-up descriptions do not contradict with the definition. The ISO definition may be followed with explanations or examples. Our example, as an example, actor became like this. In parentheses, the exact definition of in the ISO, and our extended description and with the example to understand more clearly for non-specialist people. You can see a screenshot from our shared document in which, as I said, one sentence lasts like 3 weeks at mostly. These are the ones that are done and published. There are lots of more that we couldn't finish yet, and I'm really looking forward to meet again and to work on these terms week by week. You can see appointed party, appointing party, appointments, team execution plan, asset capability, capacity, client, common data environment, delivery phase, delivery team, responsibility metrics, and all the others. Now you can see in the BIM Dictionary. And we have also, we published 45 terms, and now 26 terms are waiting for our new efforts, such as information management function. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you very much for your listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Kerem.
Sorry, the mistake. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all the effort. Thank you to all who are working on BIM Dictionary over the past couple of years. It was a very interesting session, and we saw how BIM Dictionary can help with knowledge sharing and how it's a next more and more. So we saw your questions. We will answer them in the end of this session. So stay tuned. And now in this session, together with Dr. Burak Sukar, we will see the new BIM Dictionary platform, and we will see how things will going to unfold this year and into the new 2023 year. And by saying this, I would welcome Dr. Bilal Sukar, and I would give the screen to you.
Thank you so much, Argavan. Appreciate the introduction. Appreciate all the great effort by the community. Okay, I'm going to hand over the controls to our colleague Rich Kelly, who will be managing the stream from this point on. I will be sharing my screen in a second. Okay. Apologies for this. Sorry. Okay, in this session, I'm gonna follow up on the great discussion, great presentations by the community. This presentation is not a technical one. We will have a chance to go through technical issues, hopefully early next year, when we'll do maybe a full day or maybe half a day covering everything related to the new BIM dictionary. This presentation is more about the challenges and opportunities leading to the development of a new dictionary platform. And of course, it's a continuation of the discussion by colleagues that you've heard before. I'm not going to, of course, introduce myself, but the idea is the dictionary is the foundational project in the initiative, and it is our foundation to build everything else. And it's intended eventually to become, if that, the most interconnected knowledge base, but to be a really good knowledge base for all practitioners and researchers in the built environment. It's quite a challenge to do that, of course, and we may never reach that goal. But of course, we need to set a really high goal, a high benchmark, and try to reach it. And to do so, it would be foolish to attempt it without a lot of work, a lot of collaboration, a lot of investment in effort, and of course with the assistance of our supporters, which I thank again for helping us to develop many of the things that I'm going to show you today. So if we want to build a knowledge base, we have to understand the foundations that allow us to make the BIM dictionary such a knowledge base for the built environment. The three foundations, of course, is that we are relying on the contribution of researchers and experts, like you've seen in the previous session. All these beautiful people, giving their, offering their time, offering their efforts, offering their experience, in order to share their knowledge and experience for free with everyone. So really, the most important foundation, the first foundation, is this the community of researchers and experts. And just as a reminder, we refer to researchers to every person who has a research method in approaching knowledge, has a kind of a rigorous approach. It doesn't matter if they're coming from academia or from practice. And as you've seen, the community is built on with the efforts of people who come from both academia and practice. The second foundation is we need a flexible interconnected knowledge structure. Without that, we wouldn't be able to build a knowledge base. That would be foolish. We need to have a very rigorous knowledge structure. And today I'm hoping to just briefly show you some of the things related to that knowledge base. And the third foundation is we need a tool, we need a platform in order for the contributors to contribute their knowledge and expertise, and for the typical practitioner and the typical user to interact with that knowledge. So without a robust and intuitive software solution, it doesn't really matter if you have really great researchers or you have a flexible interconnected knowledge structure. At the end of the day, the typical user does not really interact with all experts. They interact with them indirectly through the software solution. Now, to establish these foundations and to build on top of them, there are three challenges, persistent challenges, that we need to address in order to move the dictionary, which is Project A within the BIMe Initiative, from being a glossary with translations to like a knowledge base, an interconnected knowledge base. We have to do publicity and outreach better. We have to engage with universities, engage with associations, engage with industry in general, in order to inform them about the benefits of using their dictionary, and to listen to them about what can be improved in order to make it the first point of reference, or the first and the entry point for everyone who want to learn about digital transformation within the built environment. The second challenge is we need a better governance model than we currently have, and better team management protocols and processes, because as we grow from being a dictionary and a glossary to a knowledge base, the number of teams will increase dramatically, and we will need a better governance model. We need a way to ensure rigor, to ensure quality, to ensure that everything is kept up to date. The third and also very important challenge is we need to find a way to sustain this effort. We need a way to cover the costs of platform development, extension, and maintenance. Of course, we are relying in the knowledge domain on the volunteering efforts of all these researchers and practitioners. But when it comes to developing a software solution, there's no way but to recruit and pay for developers to really build the platform and to maintain it and improve it. So I'm going to discuss today a little bit about these foundations and challenges, and the aim of this presentation is to just chart the way forward with regards to turning the dictionary into a knowledge base. And the first foundation has already been covered properly in session 5. You've seen a sample of the many teams, language teams we have, and their amazing effort and the challenges they face. So I'm gonna move to the foundation, the second foundation, which is the need to develop, improve our knowledge structure within needed for a better BIM dictionary. Of course, this discussion is quite involved. It could be technical a bit. It could includes discussion about semantics, ontologies, etc. So I'm gonna just briefly describe the way forward when it comes to expanding the knowledge structure. What you see in this slide is just a kind of an illustration of the main deliverable, the main components of the dictionary, main knowledge components of the dictionary, which we refer to as the common international terms. These are the terms that are in English and then they get translated. So you can see that we have this common international terms in the middle. Typically, these are labeled, have something called concepts in the current version of the dictionary. We translate them, and you see all these language themes that you've seen in the previous session. And we also, in some terms, we have sometimes have extended descriptions, and these extended descriptions are made of multiple components we refer to as information blocks or info blocks, and these are also translated. So this is what we currently have in version 2. And I refer to the current version as version 2 because there was a previous version, which many of you would not remember, that was like 3 years ago. But most people really have joined and started using the dictionary when it hit version 2. The current version that we're working on, and it's nearly done. It needs some work still, but it will dramatically expand on the knowledge structure within the dictionary. So moving from just having a common international terms and with connected information blocks, we will now have new things. We will have terms relating to topics. So we will have kind of a master topics list, and I'll explain this in a minute. Greatly expanding the labels. So we have different types of labels to apply to different things. And these common international terms will also connect to what we refer to as normative content and region-specific notes, in addition to something called publications. So before I explain these a bit, you say, what's the need behind this? Isn't the dictionary good enough? It is good enough if we want to keep it as a glossary for English terms that are translated and localized. But if we want to connect it to the richness of different regions, if you want to connect the terminology to different terms from varied standards and norms, we have to expand this. And if we want to keep these international terms, to expand these international terms beyond what we, if narrowly refer to as BIM or object-based kind of approaches, and expand them to cover maybe PLM or GIS or any other of domains, the complementary domains. We need to expand the quantity and the branching of these terminology from different topics. So let's explore this a little bit. We currently have in the initiative a topics list, and you can see it if you go to bimexcellence.org and you search for the topic list. You'll see there's a finite number of topics that the initiative focuses on. So these are the topics that the dictionary covers already, but currently the topics are implicit. They're not explicit. You cannot really search by topic. And we cannot add, with the exception of ISO 19650 and virtual reality or mixed reality, we don't have topics in the dictionary. So the new version will expand on this and will allow adding terminology based on topics. This means that we will be building new types of teams. So rather than having the English, head editor mostly with contributions coming from the community, providing the English terminology based on peer-reviewed research and what we refer to as noteworthy publications, this role will change, and a number of topic curators will be added into the system, where they will add their own terminology, and then the language teams will continue from there. So the first major change, is in addition to the language teams we currently have, we will also be inviting, and we're developing structures for what we refer to as topic teams. And these topic teams would be according to this topic list. Second major change or improvement in the dictionary is that, and this is to respond to some of the questions that just came over YouTube, like the difference between, you could have, for example, Portuguese in Brazil, which is different to the Portuguese in Portugal, or in Angola, French in Quebec, which is different to the French, of course, in France, or in Northern Africa, etc. So we introduce a new high-level kind of object within the dictionary, which allows assigning notes based on region. So in addition to having topics, and we already have language teams, we will have something called region teams. And the region team, for example, you could have a country editor, co-editor, reviewer for France, another one for Quebec, and each one of them could add their own notes to the terminology based on the specificities of their area. And these regions are done in a way to allow, as you can see, like a region, we have three types. It could be a local area, like I'm just going to use the examples we have here, Quebec. The region could be a whole country, like Canada, where Quebec is connected to it, or the region could be a collective, which could be, for example, all French-speaking countries could be a region. So you could have a region editor for all French-speaking countries, or a country editor for France, or a local area editor for Quebec. Let's have a look how this looks like. And the platform is, let's say, it's 80% developed. There's still some issue, some quality assurance issues to be done. But of course, there's the challenge of finishing it. But at least the knowledge structures and the basic development is completed. And I was hoping to present this, to the community as finished product by today. But sadly, there's a lot of work still to be done to ensure quality. So first thing, expansion in the knowledge structure is here. You'll see that what we refer to as the common international terms, the typical terms I see in the dictionary, will be expanded with new fields. For example, we will now be able to add notes. We'll be able to connect to publications, new type of object in the dictionary called publications, and we will be able to provide external references. And as mentioned before, rather than having one type of conceptual label, we'll be able to have nearly unlimited number of labels to allow searching and really pinpointing a specific term or string. One of the major concerns, and you've heard it from many people, like you've heard it from Stepanka, and you've heard it from Kerem and from others, is that the BIM dictionary is not 100% aligned with ISO. And in my view, it shouldn't be. The idea behind the BIM dictionary is it's intended to provide the most understandable description rather than definition to a term. So, and if you, like me, read the standards for fun, you know that sometimes the descriptions or definitions within standards need another definition or another description to be understood. So the BIM dictionary is intended for practitioners to use, to be the first point of contact. So it approaches descriptions a little bit differently to how standards do it. But this doesn't mean that we can fly away from standards or assume they don't exist. That's why we continue to be true to our mission. We will continue focusing on common international terms, but we'll give the ability to connect these terms to what we refer to as normative content. Normative content would be kind of a title and a description coming from a norm or standard. So really, and the same term, common international term, could be connected to different standards. Maybe 3 even different definitions per language. As mentioned regarding to the regions, we'll also be able to connect notes from different regions. So each region editor will be able to add their own notes. For example, an editor from France will be able to add a note, within the system that says, especially if you as a user have assigned France to be your region, you'll be able to look at the note and read the note from that region editor. So for example, a term could be common, or it coming from standard, but could have a different meaning in a region. And this is really also responding to some of the comments that I've seen in the YouTube channel just earlier. So in addition to connecting the term to a norm or a standard, you could also set your user interface to a certain region and see the notes from the region editor. So we'll be also recruiting, in addition to topic curators, specialists like Kerem and Dimitri, we'll be also recruiting additional country editors from different countries. Another extension is that we will be extending the information blocks. Currently, in the current version 2 of the dictionary, we have only textual edition. So if you search within the current dictionary for clash detection, for example, the model use, you'll be able to see that it has an extended description with multiple information blocks. Each information block could include a text. Embedded within it would be a video or an image. Now, for this to make it more robust, we will separate text from images and from video and from code to allow the same information block to be reconnected to multiple terms. This means we will be able to have a very rich, set of information blocks that could be repetitive across different terms or could be unique to each term. This is an example of an image information block that could be connected to a common term. Another example could be a code snippet, and you'll see an example of this code snippet in session 9 today. The third foundation is, for this to work, we need a robust and intuitive software solution. And this has two sides to it. There is the side intended for the contributors, for the admin, and the side intended for the user. in the past, we really haven't been able to serve the contributors well in version 2. So many of the editors and co-editors and reviewers had to work outside the system in order to translate, review, and approve. In a new version, they will be able to work inside the system. And there is a unified flows, meaning whether you are a language editor or you are a topic curator, like topic editor, or you are a country or region editor, you will use the same unified flows. The idea is to draft something and send it for review, and reviewer will return it, get accepted, gets published, etc. So all different teams will have a unified flow. There will also, the contributors will have powerful consoles to see, how many terminologies still need to be done, whether, excuse me, and whether there are notifications, like who's done what. And also there's going to be a detailed log. And even users will see this detailed log. They also have an in-app messenger. This is for the contributors. So editors, co-editors, and curators will be able to communicate directly with reviewers, rather than currently they use whatever systems outside the system. This will increase the speed of delivery of the content within the dictionary, and will also help contributors, because they do such a valuable work, and they typically use so many other tools outside of the dictionary to do their work. From user perspective, I'm not going to be showing too many features today, but there will be lots of controls as well to allow the user to select their primary language, another secondary language. So for example, if you're living in Canada or in a bilingual country, you'll be able to have two languages, a primary and a secondary, which you can switch between them. You'll be able to decide what kind of emails and notifications you want to receive. For example, you could subscribe to a topic. So if you're interested in virtual reality and there's new terminology related to virtual reality or to digital twins or whatever, you could receive either a daily summary or a weekly digest. You could also set your default region. So meaning when you go inside the dictionary, it will show you the region-specific content for that default region. Now, the second challenge, and of course, there's a lot to be discussed about the platform, but as you know, not going to be enough time to go through all the details. But the second challenge is publicity and outreach. For publicity and outreach, this event will be, it's an ongoing effort to continuously increase the publicity, and it's the role of every contributor and every volunteer within the BIMe initiative to continuously increase, the visibility of their work and the visibility of their colleagues' work. And this this excellent seminar and other seminars and other newsletters is part of this publicity and outreach. It's kind of a big challenge, because compared to the effort we put, the volunteers' effort that they put inside the dictionary, we haven't reached the level of recognition by the users, which is equal to the amount of effort. So we need to do a lot of work in order to improve the publicity. Challenge 2, we also need to look at improving our governance and team management. If we are moving from having just language teams, which is just managing the 27 language teams takes a lot of effort, and you've seen the efforts of Marzia and Ori and others in managing, just to make sure that everybody is contributing, meeting their own goals if they have any issues. If we want to move from language teams to topic teams to region teams, we are moving from 27 teams to potentially 50 teams in the first year and much more as we go, because we have many topics. And if the topics become large, we could also split them into specialties. So for example, standardization is a topic, but ISO 19650 is a specialty within that topic. So we need a new governance model, and this is where we need the help of people listening to us who have experience in this, saying, okay, we have this, we're growing from, now we have 165 volunteers across the initiative, 140 contribute to the dictionary. We're probably gonna go up to 300 or more in the next couple of years. We need a better governance model to the one we have, and we need really to listen. We need advice from people who have worked in similar efforts or face similar challenges to help us to develop a new governance model. So, you know, it's not good enough for a head editor to do this work. It needs to be spread. The responsibilities need to be changed. There need to be some kind of group working on this, but it needs to be, you know, ruled by a clear governance, open model that everybody can understand. Also need to improve the team management. So as I mentioned, so we're going to go from language teams, topic teams, region teams. We need, you know, different ways of managing these teams. So we need to, we will open new roles. Like currently we have one assistant editor, which is Dr. Mazia. We need to increase the number of assistant editors to cover different things. So one assistant editor for languages and translation, another for topics, for curation, one for regionalization, community, outreach, etc. Challenge 3 is the platform development and maintenance costs. As you all could recognize that, you know, developing something as extensive as the aims of the knowledge base is quite an, you know, extensive effort by developers, and of course it has a cost implication to it and has a maintenance implication to it. So hopefully, you know, as will be discussed in session 7, we'll be able, and you know, with the help of everyone in the community, with the help of everyone in the community, able to reach out to organizations who share our, approach to digital transformation and are happy to be part of it, to support us in continuously developing this platform and maintaining it. In summary, we have 3 foundations: the volunteers, the contributors. We have the interconnected knowledge structure, and we have the robust and intuitive software solution. These are our foundations. Our challenges is, you know, continuously improving the publicity and outreach, new governance model, new team management approach, and covering our platform development and maintenance costs. So this is really part of the outreach, saying we'd like the assistance of people who are attending the seminar, people that you know that will be interested in helping us, either in in the publicity and outreach. They have experience in this, and it's very important to stress the importance of experience, past experience, to help us to improve our publicity, improve our outreach. So currently, are working with Costolio Palmer, as you will see in the next session, to help us in our publicity efforts, but we also need help in our outreach, to reach out to associations and universities. We also need help and assistance in developing a better governance model and a better team management model. And lastly, as mentioned before, we need assistance in continuously improving our platform. So it is really the knowledge base that the built environment needs. Thank you so much for listening, and looking forward to answering any of your questions. All right. Thank you, Saman, for your question. Yes, there is a plan to bring the dictionary, meaning first it's mobile friendly. Then the next version will be mobile first, so it will be every feature will be available for you as a mobile. Once we have a supporter who is happy to help us to develop the apps, we will definitely be able to do it, and it will be quick. Based on our investigation, this is not going to be difficult effort based on the current structure we have and the current development effort already done. So of course there is a plan to get, after we finish the web application, to develop an Android and an iOS app. Yeah, thank you, Daniel, for your question. Yes, this is part of the country effort. So one or the region teams. So as mentioned, we already have content which is translated into French. Actually, French, we have nearly 99% of the terminology already translated into French. But in certain countries, the same the description would vary. So a term used in France translated in French would be different or need to be localized in different countries. So once we launch our country teams or region teams, we will be seeking, editors, editorial teams from different countries where they can come in and localize the content by adding their region-specific notes. So for example, if you're in, let's say, Kenya, or you're in Angola, speak Portuguese, you could look at the Portuguese translation and say, this in our country, it's a bit different. So you could apply, to become a region editor for Angola, and then add a Angola-specific note. So if the user is from Angola, if they set their preference to be from Angola, they will be able to see these notes. Thank you, Saman. Yes, this is what the info blocks are for. So as mentioned, in the current version of the dictionary, we have like one type of block, which typically is text, but we embed in it images and video. In the next version, we will have dedicated types of blocks that can be reused. So a video block, an interactive block, like a kind of a JavaScript kind of interactive illustration, image block, of course, and a text block. So yes, we'll be able to include lots of interactive materials inside the dictionary. Hopefully in the next, when we're able to, we'll be able to include more interactive materials beyond just like interactive illustrations. So like reading from other databases and such.
Okay. So next question, please. I will read the next question before it shows on the screen. So in yesterday's session, Shelby asked, Carolina Soto Ogueta mentioned how the cultural context in Latin America impact BIM standardization. Do the translations of BIM dictionary terms reflect cultural differences? I think you touched upon it, but maybe with more explanation for Shelby.
Yeah, we don't look at terminology as a cultural object, but more as a linguistic or regional object. This is just a slight differentiation. So really, we don't go down to cultures within a region. So we stop at, okay, this content is suitable in this country. So for example, we would have a note for that country. Now, if there is a region within Brazil that says, okay, in this region, this terminology or this term and this definition has a different meaning, then we will be calling for what we call a local area editor and co-editor and the reviewer, a separate team that will be able to add these variations within the system. So for people who then go in, and they could select Brazil, they will see notes from Brazil as a whole and from that region, or they can select that region to be their default region. So yes, it is addressed, but not as a cultural difference, but as a regional difference.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Next question is from someone. When this new platform will be available to public?
Yep. The hope was it should have been today, but like anything in development, and many of you would have been a part of development projects, it's a money pit. You start with the hope that it will finish in 6 months and then becomes 9 and becomes 12. The aim is still now have moved from the end of this year to be the first quarter of next year.
Okay. So no other questions so far, but I have one question on my side. So you mentioned that you're going to have, for example, topic curators, and you mentioned virtual reality. If people want to reach us through our different social media or website or even in the chat box here, what other topics do you have in mind?
Yep. So there is a topics list on the bimexcellence.org website. These are the same topics that are used across the initiative, not just in the dictionary, but across all projects. So these are defined there. Some of the themes could be considered subtopics. Okay, so meaning we're starting with a small number below 50 for the topics that we want to cover. But over time, if we find that some topics are too wide, we'll be able to subdivide them. So a topic becomes 2 topics. Now, we haven't opened up yet the topic curation kind of volunteering effort. This is our first instance of informing people that this is where we're going. We had some interest from some groups, but typically a topic curation, a team would have to be much more specialized than someone who likes the topic, okay? Because the dictionary intends to be a knowledge base. So you have to think of the dictionary as a mixture between, let's say, an encyclopedia and Wikipedia. Okay, an encyclopedia only people who have a specialty in a topic are allowed to write. But the encyclopedia model is very slow and not really suitable to today's age. But we're not going to go to the Wikipedia. Everyone can change the content on. There's lots of problem with that. So we're sticking with peer reviewed and content by peers. So once we open the topic curation, we'll be setting the principles of application. So saying if you're to apply for this topic, you need to build a team. You should have publications. You should have a certain expertise that you can demonstrate, like we do with the language teams. Okay, but it's a bit on the topic itself.
Okay, that is great. Maybe we can send a link in the chat box later for the participants to look at them in the break time.
Once we open the topic curation, like a volunteering effort, it will be a big thing. We're gonna be announced it through a newsletter, through today is just informed that we're going there, and we want people's advice, want people to help us to get there.
Yes, that's very interesting. So if there are still some questions, do not hesitate to ask in the chat box. And in the meanwhile, for some of us who are part of the BIMe community, we all know Bilal, but maybe for the new people who are joining us today in this chat, and they don't know Bilal, I introduce him properly, and you can learn why he's so passionate about this BIM and digital transformation in the community. So Bilal is an independent researcher. He's an experienced international consultant in the field of performance assessment and improvement. And you heard the word performance over and over in his speech. And he has worked as a designer, site manager, and trainer. And he's a BIM specialist across Middle East and Australia from 92 onwards. And in 2004, he established Change Agent, ISC, or Architecture, Engineering, Construction, which is an open innovation consultancy operating out of Melbourne, Australia. And in 2016, he founded a non-for-profit BIMe Initiative, which is a community of researchers and practitioners who aim to accelerate the digital transformation of built environment through process innovation and open knowledge sharing. Balancing academic research with digital practices, he has published well-cited peer-reviewed articles. And he has, of course, led high-impact national initiatives that you had the chance, and we all had the chance to watch it today, as he was strategically pointing out different directions that the BIME community need to go. And yes, with that, I would conclude this session, and I would like to thank Bilal and all of the BIME community that presented today and yesterday, but especially the BIM Dictionary team. That we learned a lot about their day-to-day challenges and everything. So now we will go on a short break. We are slightly behind time, but maybe we can have a 5 to 6-7 minutes of break. And after that, we will continue with Dimitri and Eric to talk about ISO 19650 Vulgarisation App, as well as the gaps in the digital transformation in the built environment. So do not forget to use our hashtag Excellence Seminar and outreach, as Bilal pointed out. Tell us what you learned today in this seminar, or reach through us through those channels. And yes, with that, I will see you in some minutes. I don't know from where you're watching, but go and prepare a time-wise beverage. If it's evening, if it's morning, or if you need a coffee after your lunch, do that. And we will see you in a couple of minutes. Hello, everyone. I hope that you had the chance to stretch a little bit and you had the chance to take a breath. So we move on with the next presenter and in the next session. So in session 7, we are going to talk with Marie Grieve. She's one of the supporters of the BIMe Initiative. So this session will explain the BIMe support packages and highlight how the community together can partner with research-minded organizations to generate and share digital transformation knowledge. Before I introduce Marie Grieve, I would like to say once again, welcome to everyone and welcome to all those who have joined now and all those who stayed with us throughout the session. And also welcome Marie Grieve. Marie Grieve is the founder and managing director at Costello Palmer Communications in UK. She has 20 years of experience working in marketing and business development. And since 2015, she has founded Costello Palmer Communications as a marketing and communication consultancy specializing in digital content and high-performance strategy delivery for global clients. She has worked with both public and private sector organizations, local and central governments, and she's an expert in a marketing strategist. She's known for delivering compelling creativity, whether it is a content, imagery, persuasion to directly impact that she would like to have onto her clients' bottom line. She has also worked with diverse range of leading businesses and brands, spanning several sectors within the big industry, including, but I assume not limited to, architectures, manufacturers, engineers, digital construction consultants and companies, and also international membership bodies such as BIMe Initiatives, Women in BIM, Royal Institute of Architects or RIBA, American Institutes of Architects or AIA, NEMA, and Building Smart International. So with this introduction, I will give the floor or the screen to Marie, and I will welcome her to start her presentation. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you. That was really kind. Thank you for the introduction. I've been listening in all day and all yesterday, and I have to say that the presentation has been superb, and I thank everyone for joining us all over the world. I've been looking to see where everyone's coming from, and it's great to see that we've got such a diverse group of people joining us from multiple countries. And one of the reasons that I'm here today is I've been working very closely with Bilal and the community to generate support. The likes of the people that are listening, the likes of some of the sponsors and partners that we've already got. Thank you so much for the support so far. But we're really just looking to see if we can generate a little bit more support, allow us to get that reach a little bit further. You'll see in a moment when I move on that we are actually in 40 plus countries. We have 160 plus members in the community part of the research team, but we're looking to expand that. And it's with your help and the help of people like you know in your own community that we can actually grow. One of the key things that we want to express is that we're actually cultivating the power of BIM through research. And one of the things that we want to do is just expand that even further on a global level. So I know you've heard a little bit about what the BIMe Initiative is, and some of you are already part of our community, but some of you who are new to us, it's good that we can actually start to tell you a little bit more about ourselves, tell you a little bit more about what we do. And the likes of these past 2 days through the Excellence Seminar has been the perfect opportunity for us to share what we're doing, why we're doing it, who we're impacting, and the importance, and more importantly for us, the benefit of actually what we're achieving as a result of the research that we're putting out across the world. So just a little bit here for you is, if you don't already know, we're a not-for-profit knowledge generating community of researchers from both industry and academia. And like I said before, we're in 40 plus countries, and the volunteers that work for us really do work incredibly hard to put this research together. And the research is essential for the development and the growth of the way that we operate in the digital built environment. And Bilal mentioned it earlier, and some of our other fabulous presenters mentioned it earlier. It's all about digital transformation. And what our research enables us to do is actually enable other people to understand what the digital construction processes are and actually transform the way that the industry is progressing. And when it was founded, when we said earlier, when it was founded back in 2016 by Bilal, it was built upon 4 key principles, and that's commitment to openness, growing through knowledge structure, peer tested and peer sourced, and open innovation across boundaries. Now, those 4 things may seem quite large and quite open, but they're very, very structured. There was a real reason why we want to be open. It's because the information and the knowledge and the research that we're producing is for everyone. It's not just for the BIM environment, it's for the whole global digital built environment. And that's through a very, very well-structured knowledge element. So when you go on the website, you'll see that the research pieces, that they're very set within structures of the topic themes. Obviously, we drill down and segment the themes within those key topics, but there's 7 key topics, so I encourage you to go to the website and have a look at those a little bit later. And again, it's for peers, so it's peer trusted, peer tested, and peer sourced. So what I mean by that is the researchers are all within our environment, all specialists in their field, and we're actually doing this as a peer transfer. And then the 4th one is about innovation. Well, we can't do anything across construction, certainly from a digital perspective, without innovation and the technologies that are driving that behind it. So when we're doing research, we very much don't want to be seen as completely academic. What we want to be seen as research that's being innovative, and we're pushing those boundaries. So just a little bit of a few stats and figures for you here is the research that we produce. As much as I'm speaking to you today, and most of our other speakers have been speaking to you today in English, we do translate our research to 27 different languages. We do cross 40 countries. As I said before, we have 160 researchers that work for us. Across our social channels, we have nearly 7,000 followers, which is amazing. And if you're not following us on some of our social channels, please do so after today. And then our website gets amazing engagement levels. Really, through the BIM Dictionary and through the research and through the reports that we produce, we're just seeing over 35,000 users on a regular basis. And again, if you haven't touched upon the website yet, please do so and have a look to see what's there. So when it comes to connecting with the community, like I said, we're looking for an increased level of supportership, someone that can engage with us, someone that has a significant amount of knowledge of their own to bring to the community, and that we can actually use their knowledge to be more transformative as well, but tap into what we've got to allow organizations to actually produce pieces of research for themselves or get involved in events that can actually benefit their community as well as ours. So I'm just going to talk through briefly. There are 4 supporter packages and then the benefits of those afterwards. So the first package, if anyone's interested in corporate supportership, and that generally means that everything that we do as a community, everything that we put out, you become a supporter of. So whether that be an event, whether that be part of the website, whether that be part of the dictionary, it's that top level supportership. And what we're really looking for is organizations that want to push their brand to that global community that we reach out to. And we really feel that the benefit of that would be the level of engagement that you get to connect with such a wider global audience than you had done before. So for example, when people are here listening today in and across Europe, we have people from Italy, we have people from the Netherlands. It means that you get to talk to people within maybe Brazil or Mexico or Argentina an awful lot easier than you would have done before if you didn't have the support of our network. And then package 2 is a bit more bespoke. So it's about what we're doing today. So our supporter for this seminar has been Nova BIM, which has been fantastic. And if you looked in yesterday, I actually had a bit of a chat with Felix Grew from Nova BIM, who actually told us a little bit about what their product is and their cost management software, which was fabulous. So if you haven't looked at that, please do so. So again, for next year, we're already looking at how we can expand on this event, how we can move things on a bit, and we need the support of organizations to actually do that. And then the third is the research theme supporter. So as you know, what we talked about is we've got those amazing, talented academic and industry researchers working for us to put out reports. So that, as much as they're volunteers, we still do need funding to allow us to enable that to happen. So what people can do is they can pick a specific theme or a specific topic within the themes, and they can actually be a supporter of that key theme, which means that you then get exclusive access to the research findings, but you also get to do jointly branded when we push that out. And again, that's on a global level. So if someone's in Melbourne, like Bilal is, and they want to start working with people across the wider APAC region, we could do some focused themed research to that particular region. So there's a lot of things that we can do. And I would say things aren't closed down. You know, what we can do is we can tailor each package. If someone's interested in a specific area, we can actually work with you to see what's going to be the best. There is a partner that we're in talks with, and they really, really want to target certain areas and certain themes, and that's what we're trying to deliver for them. And I think package 4 is probably the most flexible. What we're doing with other supporters is maybe we're developing some kind of bespoke survey or bespoke app that can actually look at what we're drilling down to find out what the needs of their community are. So if there's something that you want to bring to us, there's a topic theme for research that you want to bring to us to tap into our excellent community, say, look, we really want to look at digital twins in the metaverse, maybe, for example, and how that can work. Or we maybe want to look at what we can do on a more of a data level, where we can actually influence our efforts to net zero and look at what net zero targets are and how we map that against our digital workings. So there's certainly things that we can look at. So I think what we want people to be aware of, is that yes, you can be a general supporter, and we're always happy and always welcome to general supporters, but you can be a bespoke supporter as well. So you can actually say, look, Bilal or Marie, I've got a certain thing that I want to look at. What can you help me with? So what I would do is I would actively encourage you to contact us directly if this is something of interest, and we can talk about what's going to be the best thing for you and what's going to be the best thing maybe for your organization. And just, it's not a one-way process. It's always a two-way process. I think when the initiative was set up, it was meant to be, this is by people for people. So as much as we're very much technology focused and industry led, it's all about the people. For me, it's about the people behind the processes, the people behind the technology. So we've really got to understand that this is a partnership as well as being a supporter. So you get to position products and services in front of top ranking digital construction professionals from around the globe, as I mentioned before. So it's about positioning your brand to an audience that is absolutely switched on to what your message has to say. This is a very, very open network and open community, but we're all like-minded and we're all very passionate about the same topics and the same areas that we want to actually achieve. So making your brand memorable is absolutely what we're all about. So we are here to help supercharge anything that you want to think about in terms of your sales efforts, generating new sales leads. It's about making sure that you get something back from what you've put in, and that's what we're here to support you with. So just on a final note, really, partnering with the initiative, your support allows us to continue to produce essential research that's driving the change that we've mentioned all the way through the last 2 days and the next few sessions that we're going to cover before the end of the seminar today. So really, it's the likes of support of people like yourselves and organizations that you work with that allow us to be who we are today. So I just want to leave one final thought with you about amplifying your global digital voice through BIMe Initiative. And I can't stress that enough, that we are able to give you a voice, no matter how big or how small, if you've got something to say, and we can actually support you in leveraging that and getting it out there to our global audience. I think, as I've mentioned earlier, you can see on the chats and the amount of people that I think we had 836 when I looked yesterday as to how many people had signed up for the seminar. I mean, that's just amazing. But that's just a drop in the ocean of the people that we can actually reach out to and work with. So I just really want to say thank you for listening today, and thank you for being part of the community. And really, if you have any questions, please do reach out right now, or you can contact me directly afterwards. Do we have any questions? Let me have a look in the comments.
Okay, I'm not mute anymore. So we are looking forward to receive your questions in the chat box. Please, if you have any question for Marie, ask them in the chat box. Before that, I have one question. You mentioned that we have like 4 different packages, and we are quite open that people reach to us and tell us that we want to be your supporter, or we want to somehow benefit from this very large community that you have for propelling my own aim forward. So my question is that do you like, what example do we have already in our community that we have done this, that can maybe encourage other people to, you know, use this example and say that, okay, I also want to join as a supporter, or use one of these packages?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, mentioning Felix, as I said a little bit earlier for Nova BIM, what we're doing with Felix is he has an amazing story to tell. And we're about to put out an interview piece that we did with Felix about the origins of his business, where it all started. But the passion, see, what we're not about is selling. We're not about selling something directly. We're about telling stories. And as much as we can generate sales leads from that, we don't want to actually be seen as a seller. We want to be seen as a storyteller. And I think the best way to do that, to help people, is to get their story out there. So what we're doing with Felix and some of the other sponsors that we've got is telling their stories, and it's allowing people to engage with them, to understand with them. And I think from being a marketeer, having trust and confidence in a brand, or trust and confidence in a person, is what allows them to actually be successful. And what we want to do is have the extension of trust and confidence for our community, and make sure that we tell their stories more effectively, so that people actually buy into what they've got to say.
Yes, that's very interesting, because I think storytelling is about, like, is everything. It's the way that we learn, and it's the way that we communicate and share knowledge, also from one generation to another generation in the traditional sense, but one generation of engineers to another generation of engineers.
Yeah, without
okay.
doubt.
So thank you so much. If maybe there is no question at the moment, but we received one question from the previous session. So if you have any questions at any time for Marie, do feel free to reach to us. And if you're watching this video after the stream is over, you can still contact us through the social media, or BIM Excellence Initiative website, and we will answer your questions. So with that, I will thank Marie Grieve, and yes, so we will get ready for our next presenter and for our next session. So in this session, we will look at Vulgarisation App, which is intended for ISO 19650. It's an interactive resource that helps practitioners understand this very important digital construction and BIM standard, its principles, components, and the relationships. So I welcome Dimitri Danio to this session, who is going to explain this. He is a standards manager at BIM & Co in France. He is a building and urban engineer based in Paris. He first worked for a professional organization representing the interests of small construction companies on the technical and digital aspects, in particular building information modeling. He was called upon to represent them and participate at the French level for the successive digitalization plans of the sector, and at the level of the European and international normative bodies that are CEN Technical Committee 442 and ISO TC 59 SC 13. These experiences have enabled Dimitri to acquire a global view of the construction sector and its challenges, and in particular, those associated with management of information for small structures. He has since worked for the software publisher BIM & Co., for which he holds the position of standard manager and is responsible for compliance with the current standards and quality data assurance. So we are quite lucky to have Dimitri today here with us and in our community. Welcome, Dimitri.
Thank you. Very happy to present this application. So, as it has been said, I'm currently standards manager at BIM & Co., which provides an information management solution for manufacturers and construction value chain, especially through the use of dictionaries. My main missions are to ensure compliance to information management technical standards and concepts, to provide expertise about standards in order to handle business semantic, various data sources like environmental data, and also to handle the different data models. Last point is to assess data continuously to guarantee its quality, confidence, and legitimacy. That's very, very important. So as it has been said also, I am formally representative for French construction craftsman companies. Their main missions were to represent craftsmen and be proactive. So in BIM standardization committees, and this is where 19650 series was edited and is now published for majority of part. And I was involved in French BIM Plan BIM 2022. And this is where the app was born. Yeah. Yeah, next. So let me explain where the ISO 19650 goes, what is its context, and where does the need for vulgarization came from. So the 19650 is a BIM standard and has been realized under the ISO and European standardization process. The aims of standardization organizations like ISO are to share knowledge and develop voluntary, consensus-based, market-relevant international standards that support innovation and provide solutions to global challenges. Then what are BIM standards? BIM standards, as they are named, are about information management and address different topics, from very technical topics like information exchange between common data environments to methodology and processes domain in which the 19650 can be indexed. BIM standards can be initiated not only by ISO or standardization body, but also by other group of interest, as you may know, a very famous one, Building Expert International, with the IFC standard, which is also an ISO standard. A few words about the 19650 standard series itself. It represents 6 parts, and it's developed 6 parts developed or still in development. In a nutshell, the part 1 of 19650 outlines the concepts and principles for information management. So basically the BIM, and part 2 and further explain and detail the implementation of concept of part 1. You may have noticed that the part 1 of 19650 in its natural environment in the animation, you can see the relationships with some other 19650 parts and BIM standards. You can also notice what level of complexity can be easily achieved only dealing with BIM standards, and we are not talking about their content yet. Finally, the need for vulgarization of BIM context came across the appearing of BIM standards, as their content is very generic, mostly complex, partly because of legitimate need for consensus and standardization syntax. BIM standards as then to be explained, contextualized, interpreted according to national practices to non-experts and users. And that is exactly the purpose of the application presented today. So here is an animation illustrating the journey of standards information from standardization at a global level, going to country, to national market, to project, to actor, and finally to profession. And as you can see, steps and processes to adoption and vulgarization are multiple and subject to complexity. And by building the application and its content, we have faced some of those barriers trying to apply French uses to 19650 concept and principle. So the most interesting part, I guess, is the app. So what's the scope, meaning the content of the app? So the application is based on 19650 part 1 and 2 and related standards topic, like level of information need and data dictionaries. Why did we choose 19650? Because it has been identified as a central BIM standard that define fundamentals of information management concepts. About 19650 content in the app, I want to emphasize an important point about the framework of the app content. The app only explains and vulgarizes concepts, principle, and schema. It's not a full retranscription of the ISO. In other terms, the application only intends to complement, assist, or target the use of the standard. It means that you still need to go through the PDF. The content also delivers French usages, real-life examples, and interpretation that has been collectively decided within an editorial committee under Plan BIM 2022. This app finally presents a mapping of 19650 concepts to French usages. So, challenges we faced about the content. Thanks to Plan BIM 2022, we had the opportunity to have an editorial committee. The leitmotif was to write concise but precise and relevant to French practitioning value chain. That was, I have to admit, that was very, very time-consuming to function like that. We also needed to avoid corrupting 19650 content as it stands by doing interpretation work, just adding a sufficient layer of interpretation, and this aspect has been solved by the form, particularly. And speaking about challenge about the form, user experience were really challenging because of the nature of the standard content and average maturity of practitioners, as explained just before. Also, mind maps, concepts, ways to navigate, and interactivity, schema, rework, animation, and sequencing has been particularly worked in order to highlight the content in a more attractive way. Above everything, this is a first version. Others could follow to make improvements in terms of content or form. This is not perfect, of course. I'm sure you'll find some errors. I have already found some. So you can report them by reaching Plan BIM 2022 if you find some. So without delays, the demonstration of the application. So this is the home page. You have 3 ways to navigate through the app. You can use the default navigation by entering the first page of the application and continuing and develop the all part of the application. You can also use the plan to first locate yourself in the application. So that's kind of useful to use this metro map, and you can also just click on a specific concept and then reach out this specific concept without navigating through the whole application. And I think that's also a second usage which can be useful. So you can also use this search function to search some content and then find out what it is about. So I want to emphasize the schema part, which is I think also really important. It has been a big work. because we have worked the fact that schemas have a sequencement. For instance, this one have a sequence of three sequences. You can find tooltip on schemas to have more details about the concepts. Some example also. You have under the schema and its sequence depending, you have a text box to have some information, some comments about the sequence you are watching. So you can figure out that the text box is evolving when you make the sequence. And some a very important point is the sourcing aspect of each schema. So you can access at each schema the source, and you have access to the original content provided by the 19650. So it's very, very important to have that, to be able to have a continuity of information between the standard and between what has been made in terms of schema reworked and interpretations. You have also text area with normal text, normal explanation, rich text with some titles, some warning box with some important highlights, some example box, and you can also have some if you want to go further, you have the ability to have some more content, but it's not displayed at the first sight. You need to click on more details just to be able to be light in terms of content. So there are 4 spotlights I want to show you. So there is the en pratique part, which is basically the 19650 part 2 schema. So I think this schema is very interactive. It's very useful to use because you can navigate through the parts. You can see quickly what part is about, and you can see also what party is involved in a group of activity and what a topic of interest is inside a group of activity. So I think this 19650 part 2 in practice part is very useful. It's not extended to part 3 and other parts, but that's a great beginning, I think. Second spotlight is the French usage you can encounter in French in France. So, for instance, if I go to I don't know, for example, the building information modeling term, you can see that in France we have 2 sources of and 2 definitions about this term, and you can see the correspondence with 19650 definition and term. I think that's also a great feature to have. And then also an important page and schema, well-known schema, is this concentric schema representing all the parties to be involved in information management project. So who I am on this schema as a practitioner. So we represented this schema as a hierarchical schema, and then we have made several examples that then the user can identify himself where he is on different market configurations. So you have phases, you have a real, for instance, the client, for instance, the construction companies, for instance, also the engineering companies. So you may find your market configuration, and you may figure out that there are many possibilities, that there are various possibilities of implementing this ISO 19650. And lastly, something very useful, I guess, it's the comparison between our contractual French pieces for public market, BIM public markets, in comparison to 19650 concepts. So you can just see what are the correspondences, and I think I find this super useful also. So feel free to discover the application, and thank you for your attention.
So thank you so much, Dimitri. And yes, so you have different QR codes for different events and apps and surveys that Dimitri would like to share with you. But the main app, I guess, it's the one on the top right, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yes, so you can go and explore the BIM Vulgarisation app. So the very interesting question is from F. Muzart. So he's asking, or she's asking, sorry, how can it help with our building execution plan? Possible to create a part of the BEP?
I think it's giving useful hints. It's like a toolbox to use to create your BEP. And as I said, first of all, it's not to use. It's to be used with the PDF standard or with the standard in whatever format, but with the standard to understand correctly how you can make a great BEP for your specific project and specific context.
Okay, and his subsequent question is there any connection with BIM for value use case?
I don't think so at my knowledge. No.
Okay.
But I heard about the initiative too.
So thank you so much for the very interesting presentation, and it was very practical. So it's if some people might have noticed that it's a part of the BIM Dictionary. So they should go to the BIM Dictionary website and find this Plan BIM FR for Vulgarisation app. So yes, with that we thank Dimitri. And now we will welcome our next presenter. So in the next session, in the session 9, which is the last session, we will look into bridging the digital transformation gap. So an exploration of how BIM Excellence Initiative concepts and materials are used to facilitate integrated digital transformation across a market. And it will be a case study from Canada, because our next presenter, Associate Professor Eric Poirier, he's from the École de Technologie Supérieure of Canada, and that's why the case study is from Canada. So welcome, Eric. I see you on the screen with me, and I will introduce Eric for people. So Eric is a professor at the Department of Construction Engineering at the École de Technologie Supérieure and a co-editor of the Groupe de Recherche en Intégration et Développement durable en environnement bâti. So you can see that I know a little bit French, and his specialization is in integration and optimization of information flows within value chains in the built asset industry. And Eric serves as vice chair of the Quebec BIM Group, and he's also a member of the board of directors of Building Smart Canada. And he's in the Mirror Committee. He's the Mirror Committee director of Standards Council for Canada for ISO Technical Committee 59, Technical Committee 13. And he has a PhD and a Master of Science of Construction Engineering from École de Technologie Supérieure, and a Bachelor of Science in Architecture from the Université Laval. And last but not least, he has completed a postdoctoral fellowship at the University of British Columbia. So we are quite happy to have him continuously in the BIM Excellence Initiative community. And Eric, hello and welcome.
Hi, thanks, Argavan, and thank you for that. One thing that's not written here is that I'm also the French head editor for the French language of the BIM Dictionary. Forgot to put that there. And yeah, also, I'll boast that we were the French were the first to complete the full translation of 100% of the terms. So very happy about that, and thanks to the team that helped us. So today I'm coming to talk to you about we've heard a lot of the components and where the different pieces of the BIMe initiative that provide value. I want to sort of bring it home and discuss a real sort of life implementation of the different concepts of the BIMe initiative. And I'm starting with this recent study by our research team in collaboration with Cheryl Stock-French of the University of British Columbia and researchers Arash Shahi and Mark Whiteout at Eco Innovation Lab in Toronto that was done for the Canadian Standards Association on digital transformation in the Canadian built asset industry, which was around prioritization of BIM policy, standardization, and guidance. You can see why we go through the sort of what's needed for Canada. We focus on the Canadian context, but we really wanted to identify, prioritize what type of knowledge resources are needed. And one thing that we consistently point to is the fact that a lot of these components are existing. And so there's no need to reinvent the wheel. And a lot of them have been developed within either the BIMe initiative, either in ISO or either in Building Smart International. So, and I want to sort of discuss today how we implemented these resources, focusing on the BIMe initiative resources. And so for us, positioning how we actually perform or operate a digital transformation, there's a lot of theories, a lot of concepts. I think research does a good job of identifying them, but when the rubber hits the road, there's a lot of issues with actually operationalizing a digital transformation. So there's bridging the gap between the theoretical and the guidance and the standards and the resources that are there, and actually the doing in the field is a challenge. And so one thing we highlight in this report is looking at the different components, and so creating and systematizing demand for BIM, which is a key component, structuring practice and harmonizing capabilities across supply and value chains, and then upskilling industry stakeholders across industry segments. All that are articulated around an operational framework for BIM. And the operational framework for BIM, you can insert the one that you believe best suits your context. So is it ISO 9650? Is it a derivative? Is it another approach? So we don't really approach it from a dogmatic perspective, but we'll see that the three poles of this triangle are touched on and supported through the BIMe initiative, and that's really important. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. So our work with the BIMe initiative started a couple of years ago. So I've been working with Bilal for the past 5 years on doing that, transforming and actually operating this and using the resources to support a digital transformation. We did the macro BIM adoption in the province of Quebec, and there's a report. And so that sort of was one of the pieces, understanding, benchmarking, where are we at, what do we need to do. So that was one piece of the puzzle, and actually informing how we move ahead. One thing here, and so that macro BIM adoption isn't sort of a starting point; it's a touch point in a continuum of initiatives and sort of thinkings and musings around how do we transform the Quebec industry. Just for reference, Quebec, the province of Quebec is 8 million people. It's 500,000 jobs in construction and architecture and services. It's about 12% of the GDP. So it's similar sort of statistics for, across the global construction industry. And so, the huge impact, same issues as we have elsewhere, underperforming, productivity gap, et cetera, et cetera. What I wanted to show here is that, as with other countries and other regions, thinking about reforming the construction industry is not something that's just started. We have a report back that dates 20 years ago, Bāceļi Navē, that sort of set the framework or the foundation to start rethinking the construction industry. And I say rethinking construction, you'll of course understand the reference to the Egan report, the Latham reports out of the UK, and so forth, and the US had reports in the 80s, Hong Kong had reports in the 90s, and so forth. So, these initiatives and these digital transformation initiatives, they are operating and happening in a continuum of initiatives trying to improve the construction industry. However, there are other competing initiatives and competing interests. And so how do we make it so that we actually capture attention, maintain attention, and actually operate meaningful change that has a quick wins and a long-term gain? So it's a very complicated thing. I'll bring your attention to the last couple of reports, which is the Plan d'Action pour le secteur de la construction, which was a report by the Treasury Board in Quebec as a post-pandemic economic recovery, of course, injected or really tried to support this post-pandemic economic recovery through meaningful action within the construction industry. And so out of those five measures, a roadmap for digital transformation and for BIM implementation in Quebec. And so this roadmap, and what's unique about the Quebec roadmap is that it has 6 public owners that are actually aiming to work together, collaborate to operate and implement BIM in a progressive and a structured manner. And so one of the big things, we've seen a lot of initiatives on the world that are sustained by a single government agency. Here we have 6 government agencies that are working together, and we're actually adding to that basis. In parallel, so understanding that yes, government, so like you say, if I come back to my triangle, creating and systematizing demand for BIM, we have that with the roadmap, but how do we make sure that that industry follows? And that's where the Quebec Construction 4.0 initiative, and yesterday my colleague Martin Lafleur spoke to this initiative, so I won't go into too much detail around it, but basically the Ministry of Economy also figured out or identified the fact that there is a productivity gap in the construction industry, and digital transformation is a way to actually bridge that gap. And so they implemented the Quebec Construction Initiative, Quebec Construction 4.0 initiative, which is supported financially by the Ministry of Economy. It's I think we're now at 20 million or so over a 5 to now 7 year period. And you see we're aiming to work with about 800, almost 900 companies within the province, of which 580 have already gone through the process of looking at a diagnostic, and an action plan, an implementation plan, and now following up with actual boots on the ground accompaniment. So like I was saying, there's the theoretical aspect, so we need support and top-down, like governance and stuff like that, but we actually have to help the companies that are caught in this or facing this change to initiate and plan and then sustain this transformation. So ultimately, how do these initiatives fit together is really looking at, for the Quebec government, it was looking at increasing the performance and productivity of the Quebec built asset industry. And that's achieved through harmonized action and standardized digital transformation framework. So we have the government roadmap, we have digital diagnostic, we have a digital ecosystem upgrade. So there's financing there to improve the tool. And then you see down here, well, harmonizing supply and demand. And so for us, harmonizing supply and demand, it's that adequate, it's sort of the positioning of the roadmap and its components and the actions that are found within the roadmap to structure and systematize demand. And then how do we make sure that industry is there to support supply and actually, be able to respond to any requests or requirements that are found in the tender calls and proposals, RFPs, and so forth. So that's one of the big things that we were trying to bridge is, on one, we've seen that public owners are waiting for industry to change, or we're seeing industry waiting for public owners to start demanding BIM. And so here in Quebec, we're actually doing both at the same time and structuring it in a pace, in a way that is actually makes sense for industry, given their all the other constraints, including labor shortages, inflation, and et cetera, et cetera. So how do we harmonize this supply and demand? Common language, which is the BIM Dictionary, aligned skills and competencies, the BIMe competency table, common concepts and application, BIMe model uses, and of course, shared processes and terminologies that we have. We can rely on ISO standards, on Building Smart International standards for information exchanges and everything. So what does this look like? So we've developed a framework, a very operational framework within the context of this initiative, which is standards, competencies, and resources, IT resources, ecosystems, and all supporting implementation of MAL uses. So the unit of analysis, if I want to take a research term, in our case, is the MAL use, and having clear definitions, process maps, et cetera, of these MAL uses is key to then identify which standards are relevant, which competencies are required, and what resources are needed. And of course, if for those that know, there are different definitions and different resources that define MAL uses. We have the BIMe MAL uses. We also have the use case management tool by Building Smart. There's the Penn State MAL uses, et cetera, et cetera. So we felt that the MAL use list from BIM Excellence was the most exhaustive and the easiest to implement because it was structured in a coherent and operationalizable fashion. So you see them here, the different pieces. So the competency table up here that we've used to develop the diagnostic tool. So what are the digital competencies, or what are even more so than digital, what are the competencies that are required to operate a digital transformation within an organization? And we developed a generic competency profile, which is used as a basis for diagnostic. That's accompanied by a series of workshops with the different industry participants, which leads to an implementation plan. A lot of the workshops and the implementation, the diagnostic is articulated around the MAL uses, and so this is really touching on the business processes. And so MAL uses relate to specific business processes that will be transformed through digital transformation. So the idea here is not to add onto, here's how the company operates, and then let's add a bunch of MAL uses on top of that. That's not how we're going to do it. That's not how we're going to achieve it, because that's going to just discourage people. It's how do we transform current business practices and processes and using the MAL use list to have a common understanding. And so that common understanding is that common language, and that's where the BIM Dictionary comes into play. So the BIM Dictionary supports the assessment tool, the diagnostic. So for instance, there's a lot of specific language. So when the organization does the diagnostic, they have a tie to the BIM Dictionary. And so, for instance, what is the BIM execution plan? You click, you have a pop-up, you know what the definition is. So you actually have a rigorous approach and a common understanding around what are we asking, what are the questions being asked about, and what are the different components to this. Of course, standards are important, an important piece. Just before I go there, so this is an example. So we've done a couple of resources. They're in French, but they're available to download on the BIM Quebec's website, and we can probably put a link. But there's resources around principles of BIM deployment, the different assessment tools. So we've analyzed a lot of the assessment tools. So we went through the maturity models. We went through other tools that have been developed. There's plenty of tools that have been developed in terms of maturity models and everything. We fell on a competency-based approach. We felt it was more appropriate because maturity models are valuable, but they have certain limitations that were difficult to overcome in the context of having an industry that has a relatively low maturity and low competency. So just coming back to here, having a structured approach. This is one example. We were able to identify and prioritize where are the biggest amounts of mall uses that we have to focus on. And so this is what we're looking at. We're now, of course, we have 580. We're doing a very in-depth analysis of all this data. We'll be able to export and identify trends. They've already been developed to a certain extent in a report that's available for phase 1, but we're now reviewing it. And so all the competency items that we're looking at are reported, and our idea is to try to share as much as possible as we can with the international community around our lessons learned with this initiative. So I'll end here also in looking at how does this position and how do we actually operationalize and make sure that we're actually implementing and using these resources. Well, the way that we found it, so for us, promoting an open BIM agenda is super important. I've been working with Building Smart for the past 10 years, and I see a direct correlation or link between the BIMe initiative and Building Smart work in terms of structuring and adoption, structuring the adoption process, and so helping developing knowledge resources. There is an MOU between Building Smart and ISO, and that's really looking at the standardization and alignment, and so making sure we can have repeatable processes and reliable information exchanges. And between BIMe and ISO, we saw with Dimitri's work, there's a rationalization, there's an application. I think standards can be difficult to digest. There's a couple of people that enjoy reading them, but I don't think that's the majority. And so how do we apply them? How do we vulgarize them? How do we rationalize them? And so I think there's some work that's being done by the BIM Initiative. So that's a bit of an overview of the work that's being done to really take these different components that are developed within the BIM Initiative and operationalize them within a specific context to operate meaningful digital transformation. Thank you.
So thank you, Eric. Thank you very much for the very interesting and practical case study that you explained to us. So we had one question from Angela that we answered, and please, if you have any question for Eric, do not hesitate to write it in the chat. I have one question personally that I will ask. I noticed that you relied quite extensively on a BIMe initiative and really positioned it as a way that different national and standard organization can benefit from that. And a part of this was through workshops that you held with the participants, right? How was the reaction of the people that joined the workshop, and when you explained them that why you're doing this and how in the end it will whatever that you take from the workshop will return to them?
Well, so speaking to the workshops are held within the diagnostic process and the action planning process. So we try to be as use simple terms and simple concepts with industry, because I think to them already that there's a big hurdle to try to adopt and implement and operate this digital transformation. So having these terms and having these terms are non-specific. What's interesting with the BIM Dictionary, for instance, is that you're covering more than ISO. So there's the online browsing platform with ISO that relates to the specific ISO term, so an information requirement and a information container and stuff like that. And this is language that we're on appointing party. We're not using the term appointing party in Canada or in Quebec. It's not something that we use. So we're it's looking at, okay, how do we rationalize it? How do we actually use it? So there's a balance to be struck there. And during the workshops, we're very careful to not overwhelm and not bombard with too many technical terms. And again, relating back to the BIM Dictionary, if there's questions, people can go there, can actually have access to these definitions and understand a bit better. And they've been translated into French, and we're actually looking at regionalizing or doing a regional application for the Quebec region of these, because there are terminologies. So to answer your question, during the workshops, we make sure that we don't have in the background, we understand that these standards exist and that they inform the recommendations that will be put forward. And then how do these recommendations actually get implemented? Well, right now, through the roadmap, we're actually developing specific resources to help with industry and harmonize and sort of standardize or guide this implementation. So it's a multi-pronged, there's a lot of moving parts, and that's really where the challenge lies, especially with 6 public owners, with where we have thousands of companies. Of course, in Quebec, we're just touching a bunch. So you saw 1,000 out of 12,000. So we don't even have 10% of organizations. We're hoping to get more, but the idea is to sort of create again this common reference framework so that people start understanding and start having the same language. So the mall use list, getting that into the vocabulary. And I'd say, so we started 5 years ago, we didn't talk about mall uses, and now 5 years on, it's starting, we're hearing people talk about it. It's becoming part of the vocabulary. Same thing with different concepts around standards. So it's a long-term process. It's not going to happen like that. I think that's one thing with this whole initiative and digital transformation itself. It's not something that happens overnight, and we have to be patient and we have to pace ourselves. I know people are pushing for it to go faster, but there are reasons why we want to go faster. But I think things have to happen at a pace and in a way that makes sense for industry. So we're seeing adoption of language, changing in practices, a better understanding, a sort of a global maturity level increase within the province, and through these types of initiatives and having access to these resources.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for your very thorough explanation. I could see that in the list of standards that you were relying upon. You started with 2D, and then you are now going more and more into the demolition and things like that. So it shows the maturity of the market. So next question is from someone. He would like to know, did you face any barriers to contextualize and implement a BIM-E concepts and materials in the context of Quebec?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Absolutely. I think that's the construction domain is highly contextual. It's highly localized, hyper-localized, I would say. Even the province of Quebec doesn't have the same context as the province of Ontario, which is right beside. So trying to adapt. There's so much we can standardize internationally. There's so much we can harmonize, and this is where there's these regional. This is where we're excited around the regionalizations of the BIM Dictionary. Is to be able to really go even into another level and make it so that it's specific to the context of Quebec, but it's related to higher level constructs and concepts that are related to international. So we can track change, and we can fit ourselves or fit the global movement into a more global movement. So adaptation, a lot of it there's one thing also is that because we were at we got in at the sort of the ground level with this, so that there wasn't, I'll reference the Penn State BIM uses, which are a great resource, and the Penn State BIM execution planning tool and everything. And I know John Messner was here yesterday. These are foundational items that have been made their way into practice. Now one thing that we looked at in trying to rationalize this is look at how do we use that existing sort of knowledge and way to talk about things, but also introduce this maybe more structured approach, and we've been able to balance both as we move ahead. But that's to say that the most of the companies we're working with haven't adopted BIM, so this language is new to them. So we're coming in with these concepts as new concepts, and so we're able to catch a majority of companies and introduce them into these new concepts early on. And so that's why they're taking root, and having a structured approach is really key.
Yes, so thank you so much for your explanation. To the audience, we are close to the ending. If you have any question for any of the participants, please reach to us through our social media channels or through the website. We will still answer them. And yes, so it was a very fruitful 2 hours. And in these next slides, I will just summarize what has been discussed in this excellent seminar. So we started with the Marzia and Oriela talking about BIM Dictionary in general, and then we moved to Danish team, Czech team, Croatian team, Chinese team, and Arabic team, and they discussed how they have started, where they are, and what are the challenges and the specific needs of their local their language, but also the countries that those language is spoken inside of it. And if I remember correctly, the German team needs some help, as well as some call to action and participation for people from West Africa and Western Arabic countries to join the Arabic team. We're going to need some in future some topic curators, so not only translating language, but as Eric just mentioned, this is this like whole BIM thing is a new language for the industry, so we will need to introduce new topics to all people, and we will need to this to be the role of the topic curators. We still need some people for different user cases. So please reach to people who were presenting yesterday, including Mohammed, Regina, Lorena, and if we had actually two Mohammeds in two different teams, so Mohammed Mayuf and also Mohammed Qasem. So reach to them and talk with them if you're interested in their teams. And yes, with that, I will also once more thank our supporters. So thank you, Nova BIM, for your support, and also thank Marie-Grieve and all people who represented us. And the supporters, in my opinion, are not only people who help with funding, but also all of this community in one way is a supporter of this community and of digital construction and BIM. So thank you all, and thank you all the team of BIM Dictionary. Thank you, Eric, Dimitri, for showing how BIM Dictionary is aligned with ISO 19650, how BIM Dictionary and other BIM initiatives are used in a real case study and relied upon in Canada. And with that, I will say thank you to all. Thank you to Bilal for creating this initiative, for gathering all these passionate people together, and for helping with spreading the knowledge and digitalization in the construction industry. Do not forget to use our hashtag Excellence Seminar in your social media if you like to share some pieces of what you learned, or some quotes from our very interesting talks over the past 2 days. Do feel free to use that and spread the word. And once more, I will what Marie said today. We're looking for supporters, so spread the word. If you are interested to work with us, do not hesitate to reach to any of us. We're a big community, and we will try to accommodate you in a nice way in our teams. So thank you, everyone.